bone broth is finished. It's been just about not quite 24 hours. The house smells absolutely incredible. A lot of people ask, what's the key to a flavorful bone broth? Well, here, let me show you. The first thing I did was roasted some chicken. I added just the basics, my go-to seasonings of salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. I lined my pan with parchment before adding the chicken, and I roasted in a preheated oven, 375 degrees, for about 40 to 45 minutes. When the chicken was cooked and then cool enough to handle, I pulled all the meat off the bones. Next, I dumped the bones right into the crock pot. I added a tablespoon of black peppercorns, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. This will help to break down the bones and release all of that good collagen that we're trying to get from the bones. You won't taste the vinegar in the finished product, I promise. Then I added a bunch of veggies. I use all organic veggies, so I don't bother peeling or throwing away the skins. I throw them right into the crock pot. I use a large onion. If you don't have a large one, you can use 1.5 onions or even 2 onions. I put in a few stalks of celery and 2 large carrots. I just cut them into large pieces or chunks. There's actually a lot of nutrients in the peel. So on previous nights, when I peeled onions or garlic, or when I did peel carrots, I put them into a bag in the freezer and saved them for when the next time I made bone broth. So you'll see me throwing a bag of freezer scraps in there as well. Sometimes I'll save the cucumber peel. And I even save the little bit of pieces of chicken and fat that I trim when I'm doing chicken breasts, and I freeze that in a separate bag, and I throw that in when I'm doing the bone broth as well. I add a whole head of garlic and just cut it right in half along with the peel. And this part is optional, but I always do it. All of the juices that collected on the parchment paper after roasting the chicken, I just scrape all of that good flavorful juice into the pot as well. There's so much flavor in it. Then I add about 12 cups of water, making sure all of the bones and veggies were submerged. I set my crock pot for 20 hours on high because that's the maximum time I can set it for. And then when the 20 hours is up, I do another 4 hours to get a full 24-hour simmer. Check the temperature of your pot. You want the temp to stay between 170 and 210 degrees approximately. Some pots may not reach this temp on low, so adjust yours accordingly. I keep mine on high. And lastly, I add 1 tablespoon of good quality sea salt. Delicious bone broth is finished. It's been just about not quite 24 hours. The house smells absolutely incredible. So what I have is a mesh strainer, fine mesh strainer, and a glass pitcher with a spout on it for easy pouring. Depends on what you're gonna put your bone broth into. For storage, I like to keep some in a mason jar in the fridge, but for freezing, I use some silicone molds, which I'll show you in a minute. So it just depends on how you're gonna store it. It is helpful though to have something with a spout. And I'm going to strain the bone broth. One way that's helpful to know if you've cooked it long enough is to take one of the bones, and if it just falls apart easily in your hands, you know that it's cooked long enough, that the bones have been broken down. I tried it in the Instant Pot a few times and I wasn't happy with the results. I feel like it destroyed some of the flavor that we're used to getting from using the crock pot for all of these years. So there's also a couple of things that you can do at this point. You can pick through here and just remove all your bones and save them and refill your crock pot again using the same bones, maybe a handful of fresh bones. I'd put new veggies in because pretty much everything, we've sucked everything, all the good stuff out of the veggies that were already in there. And you could just keep this crock pot going for days. You can even do it on your stove and let it simmer. Just take some out as you need it. Keep it on the lowest setting. You do want to make sure though that your broth is staying pretty much between like 170 to 210 degrees for safety reasons. Some crock pots, the low setting, it won't reach that high. It won't reach the 170 degrees. So you do want to check that using either a digital thermometer like this, or have one of these thermometers, which is really helpful because you don't even have to lift the lid of the crock pot. You can check the temperature right through the lid. So what I like to do with some of the bone broth that I make is just store it in the freezer, so that sometimes I just want to throw in a couple of cubes when I'm making rice in the Instant Pot, or I need just a cup of broth for something. It's easy to just take out one or two of these, knowing that one is a half a cup and one is a full cup, and it stores better. It thaws out easier when it's in cubes rather than in all one chunk in a freezer bag, which is fine if you want to put it in a freezer bag. I would just recommend laying your freezer bag flat and not upright, so that the broth kind of spreads out and it will thaw out faster in a thinner layer like that. And this is where the spout comes in handy. It just makes it so much neater. That these big molds that I have are about 1 cup. And these small ones, I'm pretty sure are 1/4 cup. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you liked it. If you would, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, give a thumbs up and like the video, or head on over to my blog, simplyeatathome.com, and sign up for my email list. I'll send you my weekly recipes right to your inbox so you'll never miss a recipe. Thank you so much for your support. Have a great day.